You here with us for the third annual SURE Community Forum. You can too. Peer recovery stories from Pueblo, Colorado. So you might be asking yourself, what is SURE? So SURE stands for Substance Use Response Ecosystem, and it's a coalition of dedicated people working to reduce death, hospital utilizations, and strain on community resources related to substance misuse in Pueblo. There are people from many sectors of our community, like public policy, treatment and recovery, harm reduction, public safety and emergency responders, judicial, business, prevention, medical providers, and community members, all gathered together and decided this was the program they most wanted to share with you today. So welcome. We're really glad to have you with us. There's just one more thing I want to let you know about, and that is that the content of our program should be considered sensitive in nature. It covers the social and cultural elements associated with the complex issue of substance use. It's not meant to offend. It's really about informing. So please use discretion before viewing, and parental discretion is advised. So this is our second session, this 6 p.m. And we have one more amazing story to share with you tonight. We had initially planned for 2 speakers tonight, and our goal is to bring you Stacy's story in the future as we continue to work with our community. We thank her for her generosity and her willingness to share. So our speaker tonight, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Coby Gogarty. He has come and has an amazing story to share with us. So Coby, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Amazing, tragic, a little of all.
Right. So tell us, how did this journey begin for you?
Well, I would say the first time first of all, I grew up in a very Christian home, a very strict but loving home. And I grew up in the 80s and 90s when there was DARE and kind of scare tactics around drugs, I guess you could say. And I grew up hearing, weed will make you kill people and, make you go crazy, and just drinking's horrible, and just all sorts of over-exaggerated things about using some drugs. And I believed them wholeheartedly. I had no reason not to. So I was always kind of scared of ever, even trying, drugs in any way. But school's hard, and parents need to know it's worse now than it was when I went to school many years ago. And even in 6th grade, I got asked, do you want to smoke weed? And I said no in 6th grade. And all through 7th grade, I said no. And all through 8th grade, I said no. And it wasn't until I was a sophomore in high school that, I don't know what changed, but maybe it was just peer pressure. Maybe it was that I was growing and learning more, and I wanted to experience things for myself and find answers for myself. And I finally did smoke marijuana, and I didn't go on a crazy rampage. I was relaxed and laughing and, kind of enjoying it. And that's not to say, marijuana is a good drug or anything, but I felt kind of lied to, kind of betrayed, not told the real answers. And so I didn't know what the real answers were. And after trying marijuana, I felt like, what else isn't true? And I had liked the experience, so I kind of went on from there. And I tried cocaine, and, you know, I tried mushrooms and started drinking in high school. And that was never too big of a problem until I was injured in a home invasion, because I started selling marijuana in high school and sold it all through my 20s. But I was injured pretty bad and put on a lot of pain medicine. And one day I went to fill my scripts and they said my doctor lost his license. I started going through withdrawals, and I didn't even know what they were at the time, because I was seeing a doctor. I thought, you know, I can't go through withdrawals. I'm not a drug addict. I just taking what the doctor's giving me. And a girlfriend at the time told me, like, nope, it's withdrawals. So I started buying pills on the street, very expensive, and started causing problems. But then even those pills dried up. When this doctor lost his license, they started cracking down on a lot of doctors all across the country because of the opioid crisis. And so I went to heroin, and heroin grabbed a hold of me like nothing ever has before. That's why how I've come to see it as a disease, because no one would do the things that they do normally. That's not who they are. One of the most horrible things I can remember in my addiction was stealing my mom's wedding ring and pawning it just to stay high for one more day. And now, you know, a few years later, I can't imagine doing that, and I can't believe even with addiction I was able to do that. But that's how bad it is. That's how much it entraps you, that you would do things that the real you would never do.
I remember you telling me that you're a strong person, but then the addiction was stronger.
Yeah. I consider myself that I always thought that a man is a man is a man. None of us are so much greater or better than anyone else. But I kind of did consider myself like an especially strong person. And I graduated high school. I accomplished, you know, lots of things. And this was stronger than me, and stronger than anything I had done before. And I needed help. And I still credit that hugely with me being sober today, is having someone by my side and helping me through it. And that was my father. And although he didn't understand it at the time completely, he learned. He read books and, you know, did all sorts of things to try to help me, and stuck by my side. And it was a huge difference.
And you shared a photo that I think we're going to be able to share a little bit later on, because you were searching for the veins.
Yeah. So when you see the photo, my arms, I was shooting up a t-shirt, what they call a t-shirt, which is 1.5 grams up to 3 grams of heroin a day. And I had messed up the veins in my arms so bad that they couldn't get them. Doctors couldn't draw blood from me. I would shoot up in veins in my face, in my fingers, in my palm, my legs. And my legs became kind of the last area. And as you can see in the pictures, there's scars from my ankles past my knees from me trying to search for veins and missing and getting infections and all sorts of stuff.
So you kind of talked about the spiraling of the cost of it as well.
Lost everything, yeah. Yeah. In your 20s, I guess me especially, I wasn't looking forward. I always thought, I have one more day. I have one more year to mess around, to have fun. And I did that to the extreme. I didn't get clean till I was about 31 or actually 32. And I can't, I tried calculating how much I've spent, but it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars over those years. I pawned vehicles, I pawned hunting rifles I had, I stole from family, I stole from friends, I lied to family, I lied to friends. I would say I was in danger if I didn't, get this money from them. And I would do that every day.
So how do you come back from that? I mean, how do you recognize the moment when you're ready for recovery?
The moment for me, I mean, I knew the last 3, 4, 5 years of using that this was not good. It was never, there's no happy retired heroin addicts with loving families. There's just no good ending. It really is jail or death or under the bridge. There's no happy ending. And something that I've always wanted from growing up in a good family was to have a family of my own. And I knew, even though I made so many bad decisions during this time, I knew that if I tried to start a family or have a family, that it would not be good. And so that the only way that I would be able to have a family is if I started to try to quit drugs. And in the beginning, trying, if that's all you got, that's great, because everyone needs help. And there is so much more help out now than there ever was, even just a few years ago. It's amazing. Like myself, I'm a peer specialist and I'm working on my CAC2, and I get to use my experiences with this to help other people through this. I forgot what the question was now.
How did you recognize that moment?
Oh, so yeah. So it was just a matter of fact that if I didn't quit soon, there wasn't a chance for me to have a family, to be able to raise my kids, and to be a father and a husband. And so I tried, I failed a dozen times, and but I was trying, and that was getting me somewhere, and it did help. But it wasn't until I made the decision 100% that no matter how bad the withdrawals got, no matter how depressed I got, no matter how angry, no matter if it fell in my lap, I was not going to use again. And so I got help with the assistance of a doctor to get on Suboxone. I gave away my car keys and my phone and went to the mountains for a week and detoxed and started Suboxone. And from that point on, I stuck with my decision that from here on out, it's either yes or no. I'm either done for good, no mess ups, no slip ups, no nothing, or I might as well give up.
Do you think that relapses are a normal part of recovery?
I think it happens frequently. I don't think it, I think it almost sets up, by us telling that to people, it almost gives us an excuse. And as an addict, when I was an addict, and I guess I'll talk more about that in a second, but when I was an addict, any excuse is a good excuse. I mean, and we already have plenty. We are not feeling good. We are homeless. We have, we're in pain, we've lost so much, we have plenty of reasons to use. I think telling people that relapsing is part of it is just giving us another chance. But if relapse happened, that doesn't mean give up. That doesn't mean that you're not, that you can't do this. Relapses do happen, and it is part of it. And like I said, I failed a dozen times before I got there. So yeah, they happen, but we shouldn't use it as, like, oh, I can because, they say it's part of getting better. We have enough excuses or reasons to use. And on the addict part, that's another thing kind of with the relapse thing. They say, once an addict, always an addict. I'm not an addict anymore. And I don't want to be labeled as one. And I know I'm not one. I know that I need to be more careful in my life around opioids and addictive stuff. And I need to know that that's a danger, but I'm not an addict anymore.
That's powerful.
Thanks.
Yeah. If you were to be able to talk to somebody in our audience tonight, and maybe they have a family member that they're kind of concerned about, can you think of a warning sign that they should be aware of that might indicate that someone is possibly going down a path of addictive behavior? And is there a meaningful way to intervene in that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I always have believed that. And with addiction, I think parents and loved ones, we don't want to believe that. We don't want to think that, but it's probably more obvious than we want to accept. But I think most of us know, if you're thinking it, if you have concerns, there's a very, very good chance that that's what's going on. And if you wait and it gets worse, it's going to become blatantly obvious. It's just how strong the drugs are and how fast they will take over someone's life from experimenting to full dependence is not a lot of time. So if you can talk to someone when they're in the experimenting stage and have them meet with someone, a peer, someone that's been through it, someone that did the same thing, experimented, and then 6 months later was full on dependent and losing everything, try to talk to them as soon as you have even an inkling. I would say there's no reason not to. There wasn't heroin when I was in high school. There wasn't meth when I was in high school. There was beer and weed and maybe cocaine once in a blue moon. But now I see patients all the time that were introduced to it in high school, heroin and meth, and it's out there, and there's a lot of it. And there's a ton of fake pills too. And a lot of times people want to say, like, oh, I just take pills, I don't do heroin, I'm not an addict. Those aren't real pills. They're fentanyl, and lots of people are overdosing on them. I see probably about 3 a week that are overdosing on these fake pills.
So when that parent or that loved one sits down with a person, is the timing of the conversation critical? Like, should they wait until they think they're sober, or they're in a good mood, or they're not rushing out the door for something else?
If that's possible, yes, but don't wait a week or a month, because they could overdose that night, But yeah, when we're not in our right minds, and people have to remember that too. And we're not thinking clearly, we're not making good decisions. So do what you have to do. Talk as soon as you can. Hopefully they will be receptive, but don't go at it as like, this is to punish you. This is to help you. This is to save your life. It's not that I don't want you to feel good. It's not that I don't want you to not be depressed if that's why you're using, or it's not that I want you to be in pain if that's why you're using. It's because I've seen what this leads to.
Thank you. There's another question that came in. And that is there one thing you wish your family or friends had done differently when you began your recovery?
I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate when I began my recovery. I had the support of all my family. I had the support of God. I used prayer a lot. I used my family a lot, and I didn't have to do it, on the streets. So I was very lucky, and I can only imagine how much harder it is for some people. What was the question?
Is there something that you wish they had done differently?
I was pretty lucky. They did a good job in getting better. And thinking about that though, I was talking with a patient earlier with alcohol. It's become it's socially accepted. It's normal. People have it at weddings and stuff like that. And in talking to patients that is their problem, don't try to offer them non-alcoholic beer. Don't say, oh, it's okay to just have one. Please try to respect what they're doing. And if you don't have the problem, you can't understand how hard that is to see that beer, to be offered that beer. Just don't even bring up the word if you can. That's the only advice I would get, especially with alcohol.
That's very key. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you've been in recovery a while now.
Yeah, almost 4 years. I don't keep track of it by the day anymore because it was a different person, and so I'm a new person now, and I've been living life for around 4 years.
Do you have hard days still?
Oh, of course. If hard days are gonna be what breaks you, prepare yourself now, because it does get easier. Things do get better, and it is quicker than you think. I was amazed at how fast things got better. But of course, we're always going to have hard days. Friends, family are still going to pass away. Crazy things like COVID are going to happen. You're going to get a flat in the same day that your house got broken into, and the same day that you broke up with your girlfriend. That's going to happen. And so don't even let that be a part of your getting better. Never try to look for a reason, because there will always be one.
What helps you weather those challenges?
The main thing is the decision that I made all those years ago. Before, when I had tried quitting a few times and even have been sober for a couple months or whatever, I would, use stuff like that and think about stuff like that as like, oh, I'm doing really good, so I can use as a reward, or things are really bad, so I can just use once and it will be okay. When I made that decision, it was no matter what, no matter the worst day, no matter the best day, just no matter what. And that's how I was able to do it, and still do it to this day. I have a horrible day, or like this month, a horrible month, getting hit by a car on my bike and just a couple other things. And the first thing that popped into my mind wasn't using. It was never an option of things that popped into my mind, because over these past 4 years, I've become so accustomed to it's not an option that it's not a problem. So I don't even think about it, you know. In the first year or two, there were times, you know, that like I did have those thoughts, and that's as your neural pathways are going back to normal and your brain's changing, and instead of your brain just saying use, it's getting back to normal, and you're thinking about like, you know, is it going to be a nice day? What am I going to have for breakfast? And, you know, stuff like that. So it gets easier. But the first, you know, months are hard. You do still have those thoughts. And that's how I got through them though, was just sticking with my bottom line.
Have you found any books or articles or quotes that have been helpful to you?
I sent a couple in that I've read, and there's always different ones that, you know, are helpful and you think about. But it is different for everyone. There was one I sent in about Benjamin Franklin that I can't remember now, but I liked his. And just, if trying is all you can do right now, that's good enough. That's good enough. Come in, go somewhere, get help. There is lots of places that are willing to help. I work at Front Range Clinic here in Pueblo. We have 2 clinics. Come talk to me. Come ask for Coby. You don't even have to be a patient that day. We can just discuss options, you know, and how we can deal with it. There's medications, there's counseling, there's tons of support, and so, you know, that's the way. That's what I would do.
I have a really important question, and you're the right peer to ask, because of how you found yourself experimenting and realizing that maybe you had been told things that weren't true.
No.
So now you're a father, you have daughters of your own,
Yeah.
2 very young daughters, but
Yeah.
they're growing all the time. How will you have a discussion with them about medication or drugs if they get to a point where they're curious?
I'm going to be honest. It's something that I haven't thought a ton about, but I have thought a little about, and I'm not going to use scare tactics for one. I don't think that helps. And then if they find out they're not right, then you're not credible anymore. And as a parent, you definitely want to be credible and honest and be someone that can answer, you know, tell your kids the truth. I don't blame anyone for that. That's kind of how it was back then. Drugs are bad, you know, using's bad, it makes you do bad things, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But we're getting better in the field of addiction. Things are changing, and just even in the last 5 years, last 10 years, things have gotten way better. And I think that I will be, I don't know how soon I'll talk to them about it before they go to middle school, probably around that age. It's scary, but that's when I first started getting offered to use drugs. And I will just be honest and tell them that no matter what happens, they can always come to me. They can always talk to me. It's not a matter of punishment. It's a matter of, I care more about you than anything in the world, and I want you to have the best life possible.
So when you were talking with me earlier, we talked a little bit about stigma. And there's a lot of stigma with substance use.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, is there something that we can do if we see someone who's being stigmatized for their addictive behavior? I think what I was thinking about when I wrote that was when you were talking about going to like Loaf and Jug
Yeah.
And how you used to go in and people were kind of invisible.
Yeah.
And now it's different.
Yeah, I was definitely one of the people, even when I was on pain medicine, it was through a doctor. So seeing people at Loaf and Jug that were heroin addicts or meth addicts that were homeless and looking rough, just like I did, I looked down on them because, you know, oh, they put a needle in their arm, which I eventually started doing too. Oh, they've lost everything, you know, just all these kind of things. And I was there in the same spot months later. It can happen to anyone. I mean, they've even done a test where they've done MRIs and CAT scans, and they've looked at the brains of thousands of kids and realized that if kid A happens to get Percocet from a doctor or a dentist or at a party, he's hundreds of times more likely than kid B to become addicted. You know, who knows why, you know, some of us have this kind of switch in our head, but we do, you know, and it can be anyone. It can happen to your kids. It can happen to your loved ones. And I would say almost all of us can think of someone close, you know, family or friend that has gone through this or is going through this.
So I want to encourage our audience members, if there is a question you would like to ask Coby, please type it into the chat, because we want to really maximize this man's experience and his guidance, his wisdom about this very tough topic. Is there something you want to let people know that is just that one last thing that's just really important to your heart that you let people know about addiction or recovery?
I think the most important thing I said was, even if you can just try a little, it's somewhere to start. Try, get help, ask for help. There's more help than ever before. And it's a great place to start. And we can get you to that point, and we can help you get yourself to that point where you can make that decision that you're done with this life. So I think that's the most important thing, is if trying is all you got right now, that's good enough.
Coby Gogarty, I appreciate you and your willingness and your candor and your wisdom. And I'm really grateful that you've been here with us tonight, and hope that we may actually work together again when we look at a new series on parenting.
Absolutely.
And substance use.
I still have some things to learn too, so that'd be great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And one question. If we get some questions in our chat from people that might see this at a later time, would you be willing to work with me and get that answer out there?
Yeah, we'd love to.
Awesome. So thank you very much. And
you guys got this.
Okay.
Everyone out there, you got this. You can do it.